So I train at a certain pace when I train. And when I train with Mike,
we're gonna get right to this, guys.
We're gonna get right to it. So I like to train relatively a high intensity when I train. Mike trains at a slightly different pace, which is good, fantastic. But I'm like a thoroughbred racehorse wanting to go. So Mike's a bit like that sort of that
Clydesdale,
older Bill that you could be like, chill out, young boy. We're going through workout.
Clydesdale.
Yeah.
You're a stallion. You fly through.
Yeah. To be honest with you, sometimes when I'm with you, I've got to remind myself, the giants, the steps the footsteps that you've walked in, people you've been around, prior to me coming, the people you've trained with, the experience that you have. Sometimes I think like when we're all training together, being a kind of an alpha male that I am, and you also an alpha male, I tend to want to be like, well, let's move on to the next exercise. That's enough. Let's move on. And realistically, I should really take the opportunity to pull back a little bit and ask more questions during that exercise.
So you're a boxer. You're an athlete. And there is an analogy when you're in practice and you're fighting. There's a controlled, you're working your form, your speed, your movements, and then you get into a fight and it kind of gets ugly.
Yeah.
And then you see with the wiser and wiser fighters, they have such a calmness, even though they're in this chaos, in this battle. And it's a cool thing to see the battle. Yeah. But it's also cool to see the guy calm within the battle. And I agree with you. And I think today I really noticed it.
Yeah.
That you were so fired up.
Yeah.
That you just wanted to tear the head off of every set and do every set and every drop set. And that's I think a great analogy. And I'm glad you said this, because there was things that I saw that I think could have been even better. But it was such a fun day for you, that it didn't happen today, but it will happen in the future.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think like one of the biggest lessons I took away from today's session is to sort of like, I normally said I should really pull back. It was very like, however you look at it, it was very competitive.
You got crazy today. You kicked ass.
It was competitive during today's session. Yourself and Doug are a lot stronger than me. Doug went up to 4 plates on an incline bench press. I stuck at 3 plates because of the fact that I was more concerned with pulling back and making sure my form was correct, rather than trying to challenge for the weights that we were lifting, because that's what it became in the end. It became almost a healthy challenge amongst the 3 of us.
Everything I have to say on today's podcast is there's nothing you did wrong today. And it was a savage workout. But there are things that when you watch it from the outside looking in, that you could have taken another notch.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think when you see that, you're going to go, oh, I see why. We were done with inclines and the Titan bar and all that. We were on incline flies.
Yeah.
You were done with incline flies before I even did 1 set.
Yeah, because the reason why is that, you do a lot of warm-ups on a particular exercise before you move into your first working set, which I love. So Mike will complete maybe 3 to 4 sets of actually feeling the exercise, feeling the muscle connection, feeling everything engaged. Then you'll move on to like 100-pound dumbbell to start your working set, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the way you work. So you might do like 3 or 4 sets of 3 to 5 reps just as warm-ups before you move into your first working set. So Mike, one of the questions that I had for you was obviously like, I did 6 sets in the incline flies today. I started off with a 35-pound dumbbell and I was doing like 12 reps on a 35-pound dumbbell. do you feel like those sets were a waste? Do you feel like I should have just done maybe 3 to 4 reps at that particular weight just to find the actual sweet spot, as we would say? And then once I feel my chest is opened up, move to like 100-pound dumbbell and then go to that 8 to 12 reps range, maybe for a couple of sets. Do you feel like I wasted a couple of, would you say within that workout there was a couple of junk sets?
So we call those feel sets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think whatever you need to do, mostly because it was new form for you.
Yeah.
With coming up and over the bench, I think a couple feel sets to make sure that you got the exercise right and it's connected without giving up any energy. And then get to some working sets would be ideal for anybody in that situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing a set of 10 to 12 reps at 35, that's just so many reps to get really what the connection is.
Yeah, I totally understand that. So you're saying maybe do 4 reps, 5 reps at that sort of weight just to feel the connection?
Well, you did 30 or 40 reps.
Yeah.
Before I did 10 reps.
Yes.
So again, with all aspects, can you do 40 reps? Sure you can. It's lightweight. But over time, little things like that's going to add up. So I want more. You keep thinking of yourself as a bodybuilder, and you've not been a bodybuilder for a while.
No.
You're a mid 40-year-old phenomenon that's going to continue to do this for the next years, just to be where Robbie is today. So how can you make that bridge better and stronger and not deteriorate?
Yeah, and that's something we touched on briefly. How can I achieve the same results that I'm achieving in my late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s by doing less? This is the question that I had for you the other day. I want to be able to do less, but achieve the same desired results that I was achieving with what I was doing in my late 30s and early 40s. And I think, definitely something I can take away from today's session is I need to do more feel sets when I get to each exercise. So if I'm doing chest, for example, and each exercise I get to, I need to do more feel sets, which may only consist of 3 to 4 set reps, just to feel that connective muscle tissues before moving on to that. Maybe I might only get 2 working sets out of that particular exercise, but does it really matter? I'd rather get 2 quality working sets than get 4 average sets or 5 average sets out of a particular exercise where I'm using average load.
Think about everybody that's talking about Mike Metzer is a huge topic right now. I think it seems to me, maybe it's just because it's my feed, but I see a lot of videos of Mike Metzer and his principles. And he's one of these guys that was like talking about the 1 set, he works out 3 times a week, and it's only body parts are every other day and they're mixed. It's such a small amount where I sit there and I go, wow, I don't know if that minimal amount of work would get me what I want. And then on top of that, I love lifting. So that's probably not enough for me. But then we just heard guys talking about 6 to 8 sets. Another guy talking about 12 sets would be the pinnacle of doing it. So when you go into the gym, it seems as though it's less and less sets people are talking about to do. But for you at the same time, you got to have fun doing it, right? But at the same time, maybe there is something brilliant about getting that 1 set that I did. And that 1 set was the largest amount with the most precise form, and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
and that's something for you to decide.
No, definitely. I think for me, I love lifting. I love training. And I think for me to move into an exercise and maybe do 3 or 4 field set and then do 1 working set, that just wouldn't work for me. I know what I'm like. Maybe if I was to do 2 field set and then move on to maybe 2 to 3 working set, that will be more logical for me. Then someone might be, well, then you're doing 5 sets, but no, I'm not, because the field sets will be less repetition now. So
now you're just doing 8 sets because you probably choose 4 exercises and 2 sets per exercise.
Exactly.
Is 8 at the end of the day. And then let's say, what happens if you double it and you do chest on Monday and Friday? Now you're talking 16 sets for the week.
Yeah.
And again, now that may be too much for 2 body parts. I mean, for
one body
2 body training your body part twice in a week.
Yeah.
So maybe you back it down a little bit more, or you just go to one time a week.
I think for me, like, I think what I would love to do is when I get back into the UK is approach my training from a different angle, from a different lens. So when I mean a different lens is use some of the protocols that I've learned being with you for the past 2 weeks into my training block, so I can then start seeing just almost like just what you said. I'm testing it. Let me see what the difference would be. Let me see if I can stay on top of my diet, stay on top of my training, if it'll be less fatigue if I was to approach my training with maybe 2 field set, 2 working set per exercise when I get back to the UK. So it could be, for example, a barbell incline press. I could go onto barbell incline press and do 2 field set, maybe 3 working set. When I start the field sets don't count. There's a lot of things I think people are missing, that they are thinking that the sets that you do, every set that you do counts. But you don't start counting until you start feeling.
Yeah, I don't start counting until the weight is relevant to some kind of stress on the body.
Yes.
And then I also don't do a lot with the stuff that's so light that 10 reps with 35 pounds is doing nothing. It won't even get blood into my system. And so I just want to learn the pattern. What's the pattern of the movement? Great, I got it. I can feel soft. I mean, feel safe in that position. Now can I load it and load it again? And now we're somewhere to make the effort.
Yeah, that's to me, that terminology and that approach is just fantastic. It is really, really good. I'm not just agreeing with you for the sake of agreeing with you. The reason I'm agreeing with you because you're putting less torque through the body. Sorry, let me reframe that. You're putting more torque through the body, but achieving for less time. If that makes sense.
Less mileage.
Yeah, so less mileage, exactly. So
because remember, when it comes down to bodybuilding, think about this. Who do we have? There was bodybuilders, and bodybuilders are great. But we grew up with guys that were bodybuilders when they were in their 20s and early 30s.
Yes.
So we're in this range now that we have bodybuilders that are in their late 40s, 50s, and 60s that are still looking good.
Yeah.
And so where's the change? What's the change? Is it the same training at that stage that you do when you're 20?
No.
Because I would think that can't be.
No.
Because mileage is mileage at the end of the day. And like we were talking about earlier, everybody's back when you get an x-ray after 45.
Yeah, exactly.
The doctors say, oh, you got deterioration. They can use their fancy words, but that's all it means. It just means time. But it still means you have to train. But like most people that I know, they find that the frequency of training has to come down. And then the quality of the workout has to be better and more precise.
Totally agree. I think you've got to go into the gym with a clear intention, a level of intensity each and every time you train. But rather than saying, I'm going to train, 7 days a week. I mean, I know you train quite religiously 7 days a week, but rather than, you might have to just back off and give your body more time to recover. And I think the importance is to make sure that you have your intensity, your intention and your intensity each and every workout. So you're going in there, and the workout that you're performing, you've got to perform it to the best of your ability each time you step in the gym. But you're not going in there to put mileage into the body. You're going in there to achieve the desired results without putting the mileage into the body. If that makes sense.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
I think
so-
also too, like you said this morning when I played a video for you, you said that you believed the video was a metaphor for time and that ignorant bliss.
Ignorance is bliss.
But you made a point that you said, well, 20 years of experience is 20 years of experience, and it does pay off. And so I think there's a difference between the first year rookie doing a bench press and then the veteran after 30 years doing a bench press. I think that the amount of sets and reps this beginner needs, he needs so much more because he still can't connect to it. He doesn't understand it, where you can go in and probably do the bar in just a plate and you're already squeezing it and feeling it going, okay, I'm already to this point where I can be done. And I think that's the one thing that they're going to miss, is that I can just feel, and then do one crazy ass set and then move on, where the beginner can't.
No, I totally agree.
You're still in the stage, and I love seeing it too, because you're in the stage of where you are so healthy and youthful that you could do legs twice a week, chest twice a week, and all this stuff. But then at the same time, you're going, okay, I can do this, but is that best for the body right now going into the next level? And that's a decision, again, you have to make.
Well, I was listening to, funny you say that, I'm a big fan of Chris Bumstead. I've got a man crush on him. I think his physique's fantastic. Probably one of the best physiques to have ever touched the Mr. O stage, in my opinion. Most aesthetic, most pleasing physique to look at. And he talked about his preparation for the Olympia 2022. And he said he did less training for that preparation than he's ever done. And he achieved better shape. I wish we can dig that out. If we can dig that out, that'd be great. It was an interview with him. It's an interview with Chris Bumstead, and he mentioned that the level of training that he did to win the Mr. O in 2022 was less than what
the volume was less.
The volume was less. Right. Yeah, the amount
he's more precise on what he's doing.
Exactly.
And I also saw another one where he was talking about his cycle, and he was doing less there as well, and he was more focused on his nutrition all year long, and that was better. And I think the whole point there is the metaphor that what we're saying is, when you're more precise and doing things more correctly, obviously it needs less.
Yes.
And so at the end of the day, work on the little things.
Definitely.
Be precise with it.
I think if we can leave you with one thing, is what Mike says, is work on the little things and be more precise within your training. And we always say, like, if we had the knowledge that we have now, when we were 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, how phenomenal would we be as athletes now? I mean, imagine, the knowledge, the humbleness that we both have at the level of what we've achieved and the physique that we carry around with us. Like, we're walking around with a Ferrari every single day we walk around, and we are still humbled and still hungry to learn. And, Mike come downstairs and said, I've been doing research. And I'm like, what are you researching? It's so many different things. And that to me is just amazing, that a man of your caliber, of your ability, your accolades, is still taking a step back doing research on things. It's just phenomenal. So you think about it, to you youngsters out there, if a man of his caliber is still doing research at his age, and what he's accomplished along the way, what do you think you need to do, like, to be in his shoes? And people say to me, "What are you doing in LA?" I said, "I'm just with Mike." What do you mean? What you're with Mike? I'm literally. This is like a masterclass every time, because not only we get an opportunity to speak to you guys and for me to share my knowledge with you, but I get an opportunity every single day to ask Mike a question. And the questions that I ask is helping me not only be a better coach, but be a better athlete as well. And, you can never stop learning. And one thing I will always say is, even with 32 years of training, I'll always remain forever a student. And I'm a student of the game. And Mike, I'm sure, is very similar to me. I mean, he's still doing research, and the guy's been training for 4 decades, almost 4.5 decades. But yeah, it's just phenomenal to see. And you can never stop learning, guys. And just stay humbled, stay hungry, and know that your best is still yet to come. If I can leave you one thing.
today, when Doug went up to that 4, I would like to have seen you go 365 to turn on the system.
Yeah.
And then just hit it.
Yeah.
Not set a PR, but just hit it. Just put something on there.
Yeah.
Drop to 315 and hit 12.
Yeah.
Just freaking go. And then get out. And then get out of that.
Yeah.
That would have been something. And then on the incline flies, whatever Doug did,
yeah,
I would have just mimicked him.
Yeah, I should have followed him. I think, our workouts get interrupted a lot at goals. People jump in that we're not expecting to jump in. And I think obviously people are in awe of you and they want to obviously, jump in our workouts and follow along with us, which becomes very difficult because, we're getting content for you guys out there. We've got Jeff who's constantly filming for us, who's a fantastic videographer, and
we had Serge on.
And Serge as well,
today.
Serge in the scene. So we've got a lot of information. I think, guys, this is an age where get yourself a notebook and start making notes. And I think what Mike's saying to me is he would just like to see me match, Doug, a little bit. Doug's a beast.
Or 300 played with.
Yeah, he's 310 pounds. I'm 260. So, when you think about it, he's got 50 pounds on me, and that's 50 pounds of muscle. And that's like no joke. When someone's got 50 pounds of muscle on you, very difficult to try and match them.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
I'm 260 thinking I'm a big guy, but when you see someone that are 310, it's quite scary. It's 5'11", 310.
But Friday,
Doug, I'm coming for you. I'm gonna mimic
Friday.
you. And I think the vital thing is one of the things that I can take away, being a student of the game from this particular session today is to take a step back and be more observant and be more present rather than going like a pit bull off the leash. I'm going to still be off the leash. You know me, there's nothing I'm not going to do, but I'm going to be more observant and more aware, more present. And I think it's important that I explain that to you guys. When I mean present, it's not that I wasn't actually physically there. I was just in my own world, wanting to do my like almost like just wanted to bark.
I like how
Doug
came in.
Doug came in at a perfect time. And he really pushed us. Massive thank you to Doug for today's session.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. I mean, I was still pumped at the barbershop, like getting my hair cut today, and I was still pumped.
Well, he just messaged me.
Yeah.
He just messaged me and goes, absolutely freaking love that and missed that.
Yeah. It's a great session.
So that's how good today's workout was. And I wish more of you guys would understand that this kind of stuff is so fun to get together with your friends and go train like that. Really that's fun.